The observation deck of the Horizon Dawn offered an unparalleled view of the Cassiopeia Nebula, its swirling purple and blue gases creating nature's most magnificent canvas. Dr. Samira Patel pressed her hand against the reinforced glass, her dark eyes reflecting the cosmic dance before her. 20 years of studying extraterrestrial biology hadn't prepared her for what they discovered 3 days ago. Dr. Patel, the ship's AI chimed softly, the anomaly in Lab 3 is showing increased activity. Samira straightened her research uniform and hurried toward the laboratory section. The corridors of the Horizon Dawn hummed with the quiet efficiency of humanity's most advanced research vessel. As she walked, her mind wandered to the moment they'd first detected the crystalline structures floating in the nebula's heart. The laboratory doors slid open with a gentle hiss. Inside, floating within a carefully calibrated containment field, a cluster of translucent crystals pulsed with an inner light. Colors rippled through their faceted surfaces, blue, violet, and occasionally, colors Samira couldn't even name. Record all spectral variations, she commanded, approaching the containment field. Compare with previous patterns. Recording, the AI confirmed. Pattern analysis suggests a 47% increase in complexity since last observation. Director Thomas Reed entered the lab, his weathered face creased with concern. Tell me you've made progress, Samira. The board is breathing down my neck about this discovery. They're alive, Thomas, Samira replied, not taking her eyes off the crystals. Not just alive, they're trying to communicate. The crystals shifted, creating geometric patterns that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Each facet caught the light differently, creating a mesmerizing display that made Samira's heart race with excitement and apprehension. Look at this, she gestured to a holographic display. These patterns aren't random. They're repeating with variations, like a language based on light and geometry. Thomas stepped closer, his reflection multiplied infinitely in the crystalline surfaces. Are you suggesting we've found intelligent life? I'm suggesting we've found something far beyond our current understanding of life itself. Samira pulled up another display, showing complex mathematical models. These beings, I'm calling them luminarii, exist in a state between matter and energy. They're silicon-based, but their molecular structure shouldn't be stable according to everything we know about physics. The crystals pulsed brighter, and for a moment, Samira could have sworn she felt something, a presence, a consciousness, brush against her mind. They're responding to us, she whispered. To our presence, our thoughts maybe. We need to bring in the first contact team. Slow down, Thomas cautioned. We need to be certain. The protocols dash. A sudden surge of energy from the crystals interrupted him. The containment field flickered as patterns of light danced across the laboratory walls. Samira gasped as images flooded her mind, vast crystal cities floating in space, beings of pure light and geometry communicating across the cosmos, and something else, something dark approaching from the edges of known space. They're showing us something, she managed to say, her voice trembling with awe. Thomas, they came here for a reason. They're trying to warn us. The lights in the lab dimmed as the crystal's glow intensified. In that moment, Samira understood that humanity's place in the universe was about to change forever. The luminarii hadn't just found them, they had chosen them. As the initial surge subsided, Samira began documenting everything she'd experienced. The luminarii continued their hypnotic dance within the containment field, their patterns now seeming more urgent, more focused. Contact First Contact Specialist Nakamura, she told the AI. Tell him to bring his entire team. And Thomas? She turned to the director, her expression resolute. We're going to need to classify this as a first contact scenario. Level 1. Thomas nodded slowly, understanding the weight of her words. Level 1 meant this discovery took priority over everything else. It meant the Horizon Dawn would become the center of humanity's first true encounter with an alien civilization. Outside the laboratory windows, the Cassiopeia Nebula continued its eternal dance, now seeming less like a random collection of gases and more like a carefully chosen meeting point between two civilizations. The luminaria's light pulsed in rhythm with the ship's systems, creating a harmony that spoke of bridges being built between two fundamentally different forms of existence. Samira knew that everything would change from this moment forward. The question wasn't whether humanity was ready for this encounter, but whether they could rise to the challenge the luminariae were about to present. Specialist James Nakamura stood before the crystalline beings, his hands moving in precise, measured patterns. After 3 weeks of intensive study, he had begun to grasp the fundamentals of their light-based communication. Each gesture he made created subtle disturbances in the lab's carefully controlled lighting, which the luminariae responded to with increasingly complex patterns. Remarkable, he muttered, making notes on his neural interface. They're not just mimicking the light patterns, they're extrapolating and expanding upon them. Behind him, Dr. Samira Patel monitored the energy readings. The wavelengths they're using, some of them shouldn't even be possible in our spacetime configuration. The largest of the crystal clusters suddenly shifted, forming a perfect dodecahedron. Light coursed through its facets, creating three-dimensional images in the air between them. James watched, transfixed, as shapes coalesced into what appeared to be a star map. "Are you recording this?" he asked, not taking his eyes off the display. "Every quantum fluctuation," Samira confirmed. "But James, look at the stellar configurations. That's not any star system we know." The holographic display expanded, showing what appeared to be a tear in space itself. Through it, strange geometries pulsed with an otherworldly light. James felt a shiver run down his spine as he realized what they were seeing. "They're showing us their home," he breathed. "Not just where it is, but how they got here." The door slid open as Security Director Omar Hassan entered, his dark features tense. "We're picking up unusual readings from the nebula. Something's changing out there." As if responding to his words, the luminaria's display shifted again. The tear in space was now accompanied by another image, a mass of writhing darkness that seemed to consume light itself. "They're not just visitors," James said slowly, his mind racing to process the implications. "They're refugees." The crystals pulsed in confirmation, their light patterns becoming more urgent. Through weeks of interaction, James had learned to recognize certain emotional undertones in their communications. This was fear. Whatever drove them from their dimension is following them, Samira realized. That's why they chose to make contact. They need our help. Omar moved closer to the containment field, his military training evident in his cautious approach. "Can we trust them? This could be an elaborate deception." James shook his head. "The luminariae can't lie, their very nature prevents it. Light and geometry don't allow for deception in their form of communication. Every pattern they create is a direct expression of truth." The holographic display expanded further, showing the darkness spreading across multiple dimensions. James watched as entire crystal cities were consumed, their light extinguished by the encroaching void. "They call it the nullifier," he translated, his hands moving through the light patterns. It's not just destroying their civilization. It's unmaking the very laws of physics that allow them to exist. Samira's fingers flew across her console. The nebula readings, they're showing similar distortions to what the luminariae are describing. Whatever this thing is, it's already affecting our space. Omar activated his tactical display. "How long do we have?" The crystals shifted again, their patterns becoming more complex. James concentrated, interpreting the multidimensional equations they were sharing. 3 days, he said finally. Maybe less. The barrier between dimensions is already weakening. When it fails. He looked at his colleagues, his expression grave. Both our worlds will be vulnerable. We need to inform command, Omar stated, already moving toward the door. Wait, James called. The luminariae are showing us something else. A way to fight back, but... He paused, studying the intricate patterns of light. It would require something unprecedented. A merger of our technologies, our very ways of existence. The largest crystal cluster separated into smaller fragments, each one pulsing with purpose. Through their geometric dance, they demonstrated a complex process, human technology interfaced with their crystalline structures, creating something entirely new. They're offering us a partnership, Samira whispered. Not just an alliance, a true symbiosis of our civilizations. James nodded, watching as the crystals reconstructed themselves. The question is, are we ready for that kind of leap? This goes beyond first contact protocols. We're talking about fundamentally changing how we understand reality itself. The ship's AI interrupted with an urgent alert. Multiple dimensional anomalies detected in the nebula. Structural integrity of local spacetime showing signs of degradation. The luminari's light patterns intensified, their message clear even without translation. Time was running out. Humanity would have to decide quickly whether to embrace this radical partnership or face the nullifier alone. James looked at his colleagues, then back at the crystalline beings who had crossed dimensions to find them. In their light, he saw not just intelligence, but wisdom and hope. The bridge between their worlds had been built. Now they had to decide whether to cross it. Chief Science Officer Helena Rodriguez had never seen anything like it. The laboratory, once sterile and ordered, now pulsed with crystalline structures that had begun growing from the ship's own systems. The merger between human technology and luminary essence was proceeding faster than anyone had anticipated. Neural interface integration at 60%, she announced, monitoring the streams of data flowing across her holographic displays. The ship's quantum processors are adapting to crystalline architecture. The luminary cluster at the center of the lab shifted, creating patterns that now seemed almost musical in their complexity. After James's breakthrough in basic communication, Helena had discovered that their language wasn't just visual, it was a symphony of light, geometry, and quantum resonance. Beautiful, isn't it? Dr. Samira Patel said softly, watching as crystal formations spread across the laboratory ceiling. They're teaching our technology to sing. Helena nodded, but her attention was focused on the deeper implications of what they were witnessing. The integration is changing more than just our systems. Look at these readings. She pulled up a detailed scan of the crystal growth. The molecular structure is neither fully matter nor energy. It's creating a new state of existence. Security Director Omar Hassan entered, his usual stern expression softened by wonder at the transformation around them. Command has received our reports. They're concerned about the extent of these modifications. They should be more concerned about what's coming, Helena replied, gesturing to the dimensional sensors. The nullifier's influence is spreading. We've lost contact with 3 deep space outposts already. The main crystal cluster suddenly flared, projecting a complex series of equations into the air. Helena's eyes widened as she began to understand what they were showing. This is incredible, she breathed. They're not just helping us upgrade our technology, they're teaching us how to perceive reality the way they do. These equations, they're a framework for understanding multidimensional space. Samira moved closer to examine the floating symbols. Can we use this to stop the nullifier? Better. Helena's fingers danced across her console, integrating the new data. We can understand what it is. Look at this. The holographic display shifted, showing a visualization of the void that pursued the luminarii. But now, with their enhanced perception, they could see it wasn't just darkness, it was a corruption of physical law itself. The nullifier isn't a being or a force, Helena explained, her voice tight with the weight of the discovery. It's a cancer in reality itself. A breakdown of the fundamental rules that govern existence. Omar frowned. How do you fight something like that? The crystals pulsed in response, their light patterns forming complex geometric structures that seemed to fold in on themselves impossibly. Helena watched in fascination as the ship's systems began to resonate with the display. "We don't fight it, we heal it," she said slowly, understanding dawning. The luminaria's crystalline nature, their ability to exist between states of matter and energy, they're not just refugees. They're antibodies. Samira's eyes widened. "You mean? The universe is alive," Helena confirmed. "Not in any way we previously understood life, but alive nonetheless. And right now, it's sick. The luminariae evolved to combat infections like the nullifier, but they're not strong enough alone." The crystal formations had now spread throughout most of the laboratory, creating a network that pulsed in harmony with the ship's power systems. Through the windows, they could see similar growth beginning to spread across the Horizon Dawn's hull. "That's why they chose us," Omar realized. "Human technology, our understanding of material space. Combined with their mastery of energy in dimensional physics," Helena finished. "Together, we might be able to stop this infection before it spreads too far." A sudden alert blared through the ship's systems. The dimensional sensors were showing massive distortions approaching the nebula's edge. "It's accelerating," Samira reported, her voice tense. "The nullifier's influence is growing exponentially." Helena turned to the main crystal cluster, her mind racing with possibilities. "How long until the integration is complete?" The crystals shifted, their response clear even before the translation appeared on her display, "Not long enough." "Then we need to try something else," Helena declared, stepping toward the crystal formation. "If we can't wait for a full integration, we'll have to risk a direct interface." Omar moved to stop her. "That's too dangerous. We don't know what direct contact might do to a human mind." But Helena's attention was fixed on the crystals, which had begun to reshape themselves, forming what looked like a doorway of pure light. "We're out of options," she said firmly. "The nullifier is coming, and we need to understand exactly what we're facing." Sometimes, she smiled grimly, science requires taking risks. Before anyone could stop her, Helena stepped forward, reaching out to touch the crystalline gateway. The last thing she heard was Samira calling her name before the world dissolved into pure light and understanding. The universe, she realized, was about to reveal its deepest secrets, if her mind could survive the revelation. The bridge of the Horizon Dawn had become something neither fully human nor luminary. Crystalline formations pulsed with bioluminescent light, merging seamlessly with the ship's technology. Dr. Helena Rodriguez stood at its center, her body radiating a subtle glow, forever changed by her communion with the crystal gateway. "The nullifier breaches in 3 minutes, Security Director Omar Hassan announced, his tactical displays showing the approaching void. "All sections report crystal integration complete." "Then we're as ready as we'll ever be," Helena said, her voice carrying harmonics that made the crystal structures resonate. Her experience through the gateway had transformed her into something new, a bridge between humanity and the luminarii. Dr. Samira Patel monitored the complex equations flowing across her screens. "The dimensional barriers are failing faster than predicted. We'll only get one chance at this." Through the view screen, they watched as darkness began to eat away at the nebula's edges. Stars winked out one by one, reality itself unraveling before their eyes. The luminarii crystals throughout the ship pulsed with increasing urgency. "Everyone," Helena commanded, "initiate the Harmony Protocol." Across the ship, crew members placed their hands on crystalline interfaces that had grown from their stations. The luminarii had shown them that consciousness itself could be a weapon against the void, but only if human and crystal minds worked in perfect synchronization. James Nakamura, standing at the communications array, began the harmonic sequence they had practiced. Light patterns rippled through the crystal networks as human thoughts merged with luminarii consciousness. But something was wrong. "The resonance isn't strong enough," Samira called out, her displays showing critical fluctuations. "The void is adapting faster than we anticipated." Helena closed her eyes, feeling the pulse of both ship and crystal through her enhanced consciousness. It's not just about technology or energy, she realized. The nullifier isn't just a force of destruction, it's loneliness. What are you talking about? Omar demanded. Think about it. Helena's eyes opened, now shimmering with inner light. The universe isn't just alive, it's seeking connection. The void, the nullifier, it's what happens when consciousness isolates itself completely. It's not destroying reality, it's trying to end its own solitude by drawing everything into itself. The crystals across the bridge flared in confirmation. Through their shared consciousness, images flowed of the universe's earliest moments, not just a Big Bang, but a great awakening. Reality itself was an expression of connected consciousness. We've been trying to fight it, Helena said, stepping forward. We need to reach it instead. Before anyone could stop her, Helena interfaced directly with the ship's crystal heart. Her consciousness expanded, carried by the Luminari's quantum network, reaching toward the approaching void. The void responded. Reality trembled as two fundamentally opposed forces made contact. Through their connected consciousness, the crew felt what Helena experienced, the ancient, overwhelming loneliness of a being that had cut itself off from the universe's great dance of creation. Everyone, Helena's voice echoed through both crystal and mind, don't resist. Share everything. Your hopes, your fears, your connections. One by one, the crew opened themselves fully to the crystal network. Human emotions flowed freely, love, fear, joy, sorrow, the full spectrum of mortal experience. The Luminari added their own consciousness, their understanding of light and harmony and the infinite patterns of existence. The void paused in its advance. For the first time in eons, it felt something other than isolation. Through the bridge Helena and the crystals had built, it experienced connection. The darkness began to shift, patterns of light emerging from within its depths. It's working, Samira whispered, watching as her sensors showed the void structure beginning to change. The dimensional damage is healing itself. The transformation accelerated. Where there had been emptiness, new patterns of reality began to form. The void was not being destroyed, but transformed, reintegrating itself into the universe's endless dance. As the process completed, Helena collapsed, caught by Omar before she hit the deck. The crystals throughout the ship pulsed with a new frequency, not urgent warning, but peaceful harmony. Did we save everything? James asked, still dazed from the intense connection. Helena smiled weakly. We did more than that. We helped the universe remember something it had forgotten. Nothing, not even the void, is truly alone. The Luminari's light patterns shifted, showing new possibilities. The merger of human and crystal technology had created something unprecedented, a way to bridge not just space and time, but consciousness itself. So what happens now? Omar asked, helping Helena to her feet. Now, she replied, watching as the transformed void began to spark with new creation, we explore together. Human, Luminari, and whatever lies beyond. The universe just got a lot more interesting. Through the view screen, they watched as the nebula blazed with renewed light, a testament to the power of connection over isolation. The horizon dawn, now as much crystal as ship, pulsed with the promise of adventures yet to come. In the end, humanity's greatest achievement wasn't conquering the void, but helping heal it. They had proven that in the vast cosmic dance, every consciousness, every pattern of being, had its place. And somewhere in the transformed void, new possibilities were already beginning to bloom.